Hey everyone, I'm Shakti from the Hyperswitch team. Welcome to the tutorial on setting up the Hyperswitch application in your cloud environment. So in this video, I'll take you through the steps involved in deploying the Hyperswitch application in your AWS account. So before we get started, I'll quickly touch upon the high-level architecture of the setup that we aim to have at the end of this video. Currently, you might already have a website, a backend server that does all the processing, and various teams to support the functioning of your application on a day-to-day basis. In the same cloud environment, we'll be deploying Hyperswitch. As you can see, there are three components as part of the Hyperswitch setup. First is the web client. So the web client acts as the front end and renders the checkout page. You will have to basically integrate our web client in your website. Second is the app server. The app server has the core APIs for connecting with the processes and completing the transactions. Third is the control center, which helps you configure multiple processes, view payment analytics, and toggle additional configurations as per your requirements. As you can see, the Hyperswitch application is connected to a bunch of payment gateways, payment processes, and payment methods. By just integrating the Hyperswitch application with your application, you would gain access to all of this. So in this demo, we will cover the following 5 sections. First, we will cover a few prerequisites in order to proceed further with the deployment on your AWS account. Once we have the prerequisites, we will proceed further and deploy the 3 components of Hyperswitch with a single script. After the deployment is successful, we will make a test payment using the Hyperswitch demo app. Once the payment is successful, we will check out the logs and the analytics dashboards. Finally, we will go through the additional features in the control center, such as the routing configurations, enabling of additional payment methods, etc. So let's get started. First, we will tackle the prerequisites. Let's follow the instructions given in the doc. As you can see, the document first outlines all the components and services that will be set up once the script is successfully executed. We have also specified the default configurations used for each component. And there is a high-level architecture diagram to help you understand the stack setup. Let's jump right into the steps. So we have 3 prerequisites to get started. First, you would need Git installed on your local machine. You would also need to have Node version 18 or above to run the script. And finally, you would need to have an AWS account with admin access. If you have created a new AWS account, you would only have a root user by default. For using CDK, AWS requires at least one non-root user account. If that is the case, you can easily create a user account with admin access by following the video attached in the doc. As you can see, I have followed the same steps and created a user named Hyperswitch for this demo. If you have already created a user account other than the root user, you can skip this step. Now let's proceed further. To run the CDK script, you need to set these environment variables in your terminal. You can choose the region in which you want to deploy the AWS application. You can just export the access keys of the user you created in the previous step. You can create the access keys as follows. You can go to the Users tab in AWS, click on the user you have created, go to the Security Credentials section and click on Create Access Key. You can choose Command Line Interface, proceed further, and then you can give a name for your keys and click on Create. Once created, download the CSV and safely store your keys. You would also need to export the session token if you have MFA enabled for the user. I don't have MFA set up for this user, so I will proceed further. Now, as you can see, I am exporting the required keys in my terminal. Next, we can just copy paste this command into the terminal. Once this is run, the script takes over. You can provide a password of your choice for the DB. You can also set up an admin API key for Hyperswitch APIs. Once that is done, the setup continues. This will take about 20 minutes to complete, so I will skip ahead to the end of the script. Once the script is successfully executed, you get the following outputs. This is the URL of the hyperloader, which renders our web client. This is useful when you want to integrate the web client within your own website. This is the base URL for Hyperswitch APIs. This is the Grafana URL in which you can view real-time logs. This is the URL in which the control center is hosted. And as indicated, we have created a test merchant to facilitate quick testing of Hyperswitch. This is the URL of the Hyperswitch demo store that can be used to try out the payment journey. Safely store all the outputs in a file so that you can have them handy later on. Now let's try out a payment using the demo store. So I'm copying the URL and opening it in my browser. So the demo store runs using the test merchant account we have created as a part of this setup. This is done in order to facilitate quick testing of Hyperswitch. So this is how our checkout page looks like. As you can see, we have multiple payment method options which can be controlled by using the control center. Let's enter a test card number and give some expiry and CVV. Let's make the payment. And there you go, the payment is successful. Now let's check out the logs and analytics. Let's first open the control center and check if our test payment was successful. I'm logging in using the test credentials provided in the output. Test@gmail.com, just copying that there, and then the password. I'm signing in into the control center. We have signed into the test merchant. Let's open the payments tab. We can see that the test payment has successfully gone through. Clicking on this will provide more details about the payment, such as the amount, currency, payment method used, processor through which the payment was completed, etc. Now let's check logs for this payment ID. I'm copying the URL of the log server and opening it. Now let's sign in using the default credentials provided. The username is admin and password is also admin. So I'm skipping this. We've signed in. Now we can go to the explore section. So here we can select app in the first dropdown, Hyperswitch server in the second dropdown. I'm copying the payment ID from the control center and pasting it here. Add JSON parser, and then we can search. You can see the trail of logs for all the processes that happened during this transaction here. These are real-time logs and give a clear view of the steps involved in the processing of the transaction. In this video, we have covered the core payment flow of the Hyperswitch application. Now, I'll quickly take you through the various features that the control center offers. Let's start with the processes tab. Here, you can see your active processes. You can also configure any of the processes listed here as per your requirement. For the purpose of this demo, we had configured a test processor by default. If you configure 2 or more processes, you can set routing rules as per your requirement in the routing tab. As you can see, we have 3 kinds of routing rules. You can route traffic based on volume, you can route traffic based on a rule, or you can simply have a static priority order for choosing the processor. You can also define when to enforce 3DS authentication and set up rules for the same in this section. Refer to the account setup section in the document for a detailed understanding of the various settings in the control center. So that's it. We have successfully deployed the entire Hyperswitch application in AWS. As next steps, you can try integrating our web client within your own website and make a payment from your own application. You can refer to the section in the doc for further details on how to integrate our web client within your own website. Once you have integrated the Hyperswitch application, you can go through the going live section and ensure you have covered all the steps required for a smooth production launch. Thanks everyone.